Hello, everyone out there in Interland. This is Mark Anthony with Edge on Regen Show, or even just edgeonregen.com. We have the best of the best doctors that we bring to you in their niche and in their area. Today, I have a special guest. And why do I say special? Hey, I probably say that all the time, but this one's different. Why? Because I've never had anybody in Montana. Not only that, guys, this doctor actually knows what he's talking about. There's a lot of doctors out there they'll just talk, give you a couple little pills, Moozy on your way, and then when you start not to feel good, they give you another pill. Well, that's not the case. The title of the show is going to be, actually, I call it the GSR machine. That's what it would be called, but the title is the God Machine. Why do we call it the God Machine? Well, let me ask you guys a question. Anybody out there in internet land struggle with food sensitivity, allergies? Does your pinky toe hurt? I had to throw in a joke. No. So anyways, this is Dr. Paul Robbins. Thank you so much for being here with us today. You can find him at Big Sky Natural Wellness Clinic.com. And thank you so much, Doc. How you doing?
Oh my gosh. It's just, I hope I exceed or at least meet up to what you just told everybody about me. I think probably the biggest thing we have at our clinic is the opportunity for common sense. I think if everybody had a little dose of common sense, I think people wouldn't be suffering so much.
Well, tell us about yourself before we go into the this God Machine that I when we were talking, I kind of called it that. And so I was thinking,
well, a lot of prayers went into it, I'm sure. That's why we found it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm in for it. Well, I guess my background is strictly, automotive. I spent 20 years in the automotive business. Yep. I'm an ASE master mechanic by trade. I found a wonderful wife and married her. We've been married now for 25 years. We had 2 kids of our own together, and it was kind of one of these. I think their genetics were kind of messed up by their parents. I don't know who they are, but they're us. But they just kept getting sick, and my son was one of these kids that man, he'd get into something with dairy or something with grains or whatever, and I tell you what, he was like the salad shooter 15 minutes later. I mean, it would run through his system so bad. And then my youngest child, anytime she get into like sugar, I mean, she was the poster child for aggressiveness or ADD, ADHD, couldn't calm down. It's like, what did you just eat? I mean, she had this emotional response to certain types of foods too. So, as a good mom and dad always do, we said, hey, let's go to the doctor. Let's figure out what's going on. So the poor kids, I mean, we'd go swimming in a public pool. They'd be sick for 3 weeks, or they would be at home sick because they just were overwhelmed by whatever they were exposed to at the pool. So we did this doctor, these antibiotics, this blood test, that blood test. Hey, let's pull the blood out. I mean, my kids were literally we had to the point to where we almost had to strap them down to take the blood out to see what currently the food sensitivities were. I mean, $500 a pop or whatever it was at that time. I mean, we're pulling blood out. Okay, now you can't eat this food for this time. And then the other one couldn't eat that food. But it just seemed like whenever we did the food rotation, they became allergic to whatever they were eating. So it wasn't the foods. I mean, granted, you can get good, better, and best foods, go organic or best food, grow them yourself, for goodness sake. But they always became sensitive to the foods that they were eating. So long story short, we both grew up here in Montana, ended up getting bought a business after we sold the automotive. We bought a business in Denver, and we found a couple of like-minded people that were like, hey, we've had problems in ourselves. Go talk to this Dr. Sullivan. Like 2 or 3 times in 1 week. Did you go talk to Dr. Sullivan? Hey, there's this Dr. Sullivan down here at the Institute of Bioenergy, IBEM College. So my wife hooked him up, an appointment for us. We went in, and I okay, so I'm a mechanic. All right. I'm talking front suspension, tune-ups, performance stuff, drivability stuff, We're talking computer programming.
20 years?
20 years I was in the
No
business.
doctorates. No, you didn't have any
Oh
doctorates.
hell no. No. The only way to truly get the grease out of your hands is to eat chicken. Okay. So that's me. Okay, that's me. So I mean, I'd go to bed and your fingernails never get clean. That was me. So we go into this guy and he says, all right, I have this biofeedback machine. All you gotta do is hold it. And what it does is it runs a series of frequencies towards it. And he dumbed it down for me. He says, basically, your body will pick the remedy that you need in the test that we pick for you. So if it's allergies, we pick this food sensitivity stuff. If it's airborne, we throw that in. If it's autoimmune, we can look at that. I mean, and I'm like, what? What's this energy crap? I mean, I was the guy that was like, I pull my little invisible card out and I lay it on him and he looks at that card. He goes, what's that? Oh, that's my BS card. I call bullshit. Well, if I can say that. I did. And he says, well, is anything else working for you? And I'm like, no. He just called me out. He says, is any prescription, any antibiotic, anything as far as the allergy people, has anybody got you something where your kids feel better? And I'm like, no. He says, well, what do you got to lose? If it doesn't work, I'll be just like everybody else that you've gone to, and it didn't work. And I'm like, all right, I got nothing to lose, because at this point, I mean, my kids are sick. I mean,
you do anything when it comes to your kids. You're like,
yeah. We just got back from the oncology center there in Denver because we went to a person that says, okay, I can't find enough white blood cells in your children. So it's either leukemia or it's a blood disorder. And when you get, when you get that option of what's wrong with a family member, I'll try anything. I'll do anything to save my kids. So that's where I was at. I went in and we did the biofeedback scan. We came home. You got to follow the rules. He says, it's like, you just got to follow the rules. It won't work unless you follow the rules. The more accurate you are, the more success you'll have. So my sweet wife, she's the golden child for following rules and being consistent. So she got us online and we start taking these printed drops, and all of a sudden the trips to the bathrooms are going away, and all of a sudden the anger issues, the aggressiveness, the ADD, ADHD, there's a problem with the kid if he's got a problem, if he just drops down and goes into this fit, either needs a spanking because he has no respect for the people he's around, or his internal part of his body is so inflamed and so irritated that they just lose their stuff. So they'll have these emotional breakdowns in front of everybody, and they're just like this drama kings and queens, and they just fall apart.
So you mentioned drops.
Yes.
You gave some drops. What's that?
Okay. So when you do this type of biofeedback, the program collects the digital remedies or the frequencies that your body picks. I think I was showing this to you earlier. This is just a 1 ounce bottle. It's 85% distilled water, 15% ethyl alcohol, and it's the right combination because of the carbon atoms from the alcohol. That is a great medium for a download or for a digital imprint. So in essence, you're like charging it with a frequency, and it's a miniature battery. So these remedies, you'll get these remedies, the scan will come up anywhere from 3 drops to 13. And you just take them 4 to 6 times a day. Some people have to take them more because they're dealing with bigger stuff. Sometimes you can take them less. You get some people that, as a 5-star rating, they rate themselves after the first 3 days as, how'd you do it? And they say, well, I rate myself at a 2.5 star. The one gal I'm thinking about works on one of the local ranches here, and she's a cowgirl. I mean, she comes in, she's got crap on her boots. She's got the Levi's on. She is button up shirt. She all but has a hat on. I mean, she says we're moving cattle. We're feeding steers. We're doing the stuff with the horses, you know. And she's doing all this stuff. And she says, you know what? I give myself maybe 2.5 stars. So then we kind of go through the stuff that she was complaining for. And I'm like, okay, how are the headaches? She says, actually, they're about, and I said, give me 10, 20, 30, 40% better. She says, my headaches are 80% better. Really? All right. Well, how's the gas with flavor? You know, because some people will get very gassy and it's some foul or odor. So, you know, I say, well, how's the flavored gas? She says, that's 60% better. Wow. And right down it was anywhere from 80 to 60% better. And she sucked at taking the drops. So, I mean, it's just depends how your body responds to them. I mean,
what do these drops taste like?
These ones here have an alcohol taste. So it's kind of like a homeopathic. It's got like a vodka mix, I think, in them. That's how they make them. I have another one called like a Smart Silver Element. It's pardon me. It's a product by Deseret Biologicals, and it tastes like the kids like that one a lot better because they don't like the taste of the alcohol. So I use that with newborns and stuff like that. Those. I mean, you could do a scan to a 2-day-old. Mm-hmm. If baby's having a problem, which we've had a lot. We've got a lot of moms that were having problems with babies because they're spitting up the milk, they're throwing up, they're getting gas, they're bloated really bad. I mean, we'll load up, we'll just stick the probes because you have to have there's a probe in each hand typically. And with babies, to make the drops, right? When you do the scan, you have to hold on to a probe on the system. So you just have it touch their skin. And it still runs the system through there, creates a digital download. We download it into the carrier, and then the mom just drops the carrier or drops the drops in the baby's mouth.
What's a digital download?
Okay, so what you have is when we do a scan with this type of biofeedback, with this GSR, the galvanic skin residency, everything has a value or an identity. Are you familiar with muscle testing kinesiology? Yes. Okay, so if your people know about muscle testing kinesiology, you're basically taking the identity, bringing it into your electromagnetic field, and you're responding the way you're acting in a way that it's responding to your EMF, your electrical magnetic frequency. So in essence, if you bring that in close to you, then your body can actually benefit from that identity without actually swallowing it. So when you look at the GSR, you have that identity, but you're not actually physically taking it, but it can affect the production or the function of your body. So if you're familiar with kinesiology, if you find 20 things that make you stronger, just get a jumpsuit, put 20 little pockets and put all your supplements in your pockets. And in essence, you should be stronger, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you think about it, when you do the scan, as the GSR or the galvanic skin residency machine runs that identity through you, it captures through the program the resistance of the things that could potentially be your antidote or your benefit. Then, in other words, it would make you stronger if you're holding it, doing a kinesiology test. So we capture that in what they consider a hold tank, and then we download it or transfer the frequency into the carrier, and it becomes like a little battery stored with not just 10, but you can put up to like 150 different remedies, digital frequencies in here. Now, back in the day, we used to do, you're not quite careful about what you do, but you could put up to 300 different frequencies in here. Okay. So, I mean, you're just giving the body, the way I like to describe it is that you're giving the body information to do its job better. So if you give it a frequency to help the thyroid to absorb a little bit more iodine to help the function with the T1, T2, T3, T4. I mean, a lot of people don't realize those 4 hormones that the thyroid makes, they're made of 65% iodine. So when you look at that common sense that we talked about earlier, if you don't have the right materials to make the car run, you're not going to have the energy. So if we can get the body to wake up its receptor sites for the nutrition, then you can actually heal faster. If we can wake up the body to produce the right hormones in the right amount, we can calm down the painful cycle that women have and the heavy bleeding, or stop the fact that some women have 2 cycles a month. So, I mean, if you just look at the basic, like we initially started with, the allergies. When you're dealing with allergies, let's look at, and then you see a lot of my homeopathics up here. Okay, a lot of homeopathy is like, cures like. So if the physical peanut makes you sick, or if you get physically stung by a bee and you go into anaphylactic shock, I will guarantee you that the digital signature or the frequency of either the bee or the peanut is going to be your antidote. That's why they say, if you have a lot of allergies, get the local honey. That's just common sense, because you're bringing a little bit of that identity into there where like cures like. Now, obviously, there's no honey that has dairy or gluten or eggs in it, so you can't use that method unless you really kind of get sick. So that's where we go with the digital imprinting. So if we can find the identities that set off the allergic sensitivity that the body has, we can kind of retrain them not to be so active. Now, I'm doing a lot of talking here, Mark, so do you want to? Time, you're on mute.
Right. All right. So good. So this machine, if you can maybe show it a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
This is the Asira, GSR. There's the Asira. There's the Quest 4, which is the Bluetooth option of this. They're very, very powerful. The blue is basically like a transmitting antenna. So this would be the imprinting plate. So once you do a scan, basically you will put on the computer program which test you want, and then how it responds with the person is you get a probe in each hand. They're just a brass probe. Anything? Some people don't. There is a slight electronic buzz, if that's what you want to call it. Some people notice there's like a little buzz, energetic. The scan itself, when I was reading it back in the day, the voltage that runs through it, as far as what you can feel, is anywhere from 0.5 to like 1.5 as a frequency. So some people are sensitive enough to feel that. Most people don't.
Right.
I mean, typically the kids, that are 2 to 8 years old, they'll come in, they get really bored on holding them. So I got to turn on some cartoons just to distract them so they keep holding them. But it's very non-invasive. I mean, when you look at the allergy test, when they do all the different pin pricks on your back, you're putting part of that element into the body to figure out, well, there's your root cause. Your root cause is you're allergic to bananas. Well, that's great. What do we do? Well, what will they tell you? When you have an allergy like that, what do they tell you? Don't eat that. Well, that's what we did for years and months and test after test. We didn't eat that. But then as soon as the element cleared them, you'd bring that back in. Well, then they would become violently allergic to it again. So it never really helped us to follow their rule of ideas, just don't eat it, because it wasn't the food that was a problem. It was the way their body was reacting to it. Okay. You've heard of leaky gut, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So leaky gut is where the little microvilli of the stomach and the small intestine get broke down, and large particles of food get into the bloodstream along with pathogens, bacteria, or whatever. So if you think about it, if you have a large particle of food, and lots of them, that the body can't do anything with, the white blood cells will attack it. Then, if it comes to a point where you're doing that a lot, it will create an antigen that will directly attack that one thing. It's kind of like a vaccine. In the old days, the vaccines were dead and dying viruses. They inject in your body, and then the body's immune system will attack those dead and dying viruses or whatever they injected in you for the vaccine, and then create its specific army to attack that disease. Body doesn't know, is it a disease or is it food? Well, it doesn't know the difference, so it attacks the food.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So now you have this warrior class of white blood cells that are looking for eggs. This warrior class of white blood cells that are attacking The gluten. Oh, I'm gluten tolerant. Well, it's almost like it's a, hey, I I played in the NFL. I'm important. Hey, I'm gluten intolerant. I am. I have the status. And then that becomes their identity. Okay. Some people don't want to be fixed. And I've ran into that multiple times. But if we can create a digital frequency that your body says, I'm having a problem with gluten, who says, let's give it a shot? Let's throw that signature, that neutralizing remedy to try to reprogram that antigen, shut off the response, and see what happens. It took us with our kids about, with Dr. Sullivan's help, and then we continued on because the darn fool says, hey, I'm having a seminar tonight. Won't you come visit? Because I know you guys are busy and everything, but just come listen to me. And the more he talked, the more my lower jaw separated from my upper half, because I had never heard of anything, but yet I had everything showing up with my kids that he was doing what he said would happen. So by the time we were done, I turned to my wife and I said, we have to do this. We cannot not do this, because we're not the only mom and dads out there that are banging their heads together, putting up with kids that are rowdy, aggressive, because their body is just pissed off at everything that they eat. We have to do this. Only if we just find one person to help.
So I got one for you. So let's say you have someone. So we put a disorder on everything. Everything's a disorder.
Right.
When a kid's not eating, he's got an eating disorder. Right. And I'll be straight with you. I'm dealing with a situation like that with my own child, and it's hard when you have another parent that's, you say apple, they say orange. It's a yin and the yang.
Oh yeah.
And it's irritating because I know he doesn't have an eating disorder. He's just being a picky little kid, and and so the frustration is, could something like this help somebody like that?
Okay. So,
or is this a totally different?
No. What usually makes them picky is whatever food they're trying to eat doesn't sit well. They're like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Correct.
Okay. So that could be one. Now, has anybody talked to you about phenolics?
No.
Never heard of the word before, right?
I haven't.
Okay. A phenolic is the building blocks of foods. All right. So if you take a raw potato, a banana, and an apple, what happens when you open them up? You cut them open, you leave them on the counter. What happens? They brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is an enzyme in those items. Now, you get certain phenolics like the caffeinic acid. It's not caffeine acid. It's called caffeinic acid phenolic. There's about 40 food items in there. Anything from yeast to wheat to green grapes, red grapes. You got cow's milk. You've got chicken. So that element, that enzyme or that protein that makes up that specific phenolic is the trigger. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So if you go and you said, let's say that you eat something one day, you're like, I feel fine. The next day you go through and like, wow, something's really weird because now I don't feel very good. Mm-hmm. Well, what if you ate 3 of those groups that has that caffeinic acid in it and you were fine, but then you ate a fourth one and then it upset the balance inside and your body couldn't handle it anymore. So then you felt like crap because all of a sudden now the white blood cells are out. It's like a mini, I don't feel good, like a little bit of flu going on. Your body's saying, okay, we have been override by whatever. Right. Your body's going to put the defense mechanism into play, which is basically the diarrhea. If you get something in your body, like food poisoning, what do? You throw it up.
Yep.
Or it comes out in full force. So if your body thinks that it's being attacked or it's threatened,
it'll turn off.
It'll shoot it out.
Right.
So, but it's all depending upon how your body responds to that certain element. So if you become allergic to XYZ, you eat a bunch of it, you're going to get diarrhea. It's the body's defense mechanism because it thinks it's being invaded.
Wow.
That's why the reprogramming or the imprinted drops help reprogram how the body works. We can shut off their response. You can eat, because my kids, they ended up no dairy, no wheat, no eggs.
Right.
That was consistent throughout all their testing for years.
Okay.
Okay. So you
They
take
can
a
eat it.
4-year-old, 4 to 6-year-old, and 6 to 8-year-olds. I mean, we did it like 3 or 4 years. You tell them, no, you can't go to that birthday party because they have cake and they have ice cream. Okay. When we were done, we went to Chuck E. Cheese. We ordered a freaking cheese pizza and we ate cake and ice cream. And no one was running to the bathroom.
No.
And that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I scan them normally? No. Yes. Do they every once in a while get too much of the sugar or too much? Yeah. Every once in a while, my son's face will swell up. I'm like, how many eggs did you eat last week? Oh, about 3 dozen because I'm a college student and they're cheap. Exactly. So you come in, you reboot, you get them in there. I mean, but people don't realize allergies is a response to something outside. So I had a gal come to me. She says, I have a very embarrassing allergy. I have a little bit of food sensitivities, a little bit of seasonal allergies. She says, but I have a very serious, embarrassing allergy issue. I'm like, I'm your doctor. I'm your guy. She says, every time I have romantic encounters with my husband, I break out in a rash from his fluid.
Wow.
How do you fix that with cream? Right? So what I did is I did the basic scan. I made up a couple different things. I thought, you know what? This is kind of like an autoimmune because, I mean, they've been married for almost 40, 45 years.
Wow.
I mean, they've had a couple nights together, I'm sure, but all of a sudden now something's flared up. So we did the biofeedback scan. We created a remedy. That digital remedy, I said, take it 4 to 6 times a day consistently.
Wow.
And then let me know. She called me back 3 weeks later. She goes, we're good.
What?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. No, but it's how the body responds. It's the immune system that's hypersensitive. So, I mean, if you're taking a prescription from there, prescription there, a lot of these prescriptions are immune suppressant drugs.
Wow. So this could pretty much work with almost everything?
You know, to a point. I mean, a broken arm's a broken arm. You know, like say,
I mean,
yeah. But
okay,
can
go
it
back
help?
to what I was talking about, the food thing.
Yes.
So, like, you know, it's interesting that as you're talking, is there's also a sensory that nobody talks about is the way our thinking process.
Yes.
And you know, if you tell, so example, when my son went to this doctor, the first doctor said doesn't have an eating disorder. They didn't like that response, so they're like, okay, well, let's get him right. And then the other doctor's like, oh yeah, he has an eating, he has ARFID. I'm like, what the heck is ARFID? Like, and I of course I looked it up, and I'm like, of course, I live in Portland, Oregon, so they're gonna invent something over here, you know. So, you know, I'm keeping it real. And I'm like, okay, I guess we got ARFID, you know. And so then we're sitting down, and I'm like, I go, it's funny that you guys are telling me because I never saw this. You know, I mean, I go, just the other day I was with my son. He goes, I'm hungry. I go, what do you want to get? He goes, I want to get a hot dog over at Costco, the big dogs, the kosher.
Oh yeah, highly recommend.
They're big. They're not midget ones. You know.
No.
And so we go there, man. He tore that sucker up like the rapture was going to come. And so then I'm talking to the mom. I go, man, brother's eating. I don't know what you're talking about, right? So then I'm talking about sensories. Goes to the doctor, yes. And they look at him, and I wasn't there. They're all, you have ARFID and you have an eating disorder. And all of a sudden, guess what? He became what they said, because they said to him, you have this, and you have this, and you have this, and you have this. And it's like, I told the doctor, you never tell a kid he has an eating disorder, even if it may look like it may be. I go, as a doctor, and I'm telling the doctor this, I go, if you were to get an apple and cut in half, and you tell that other half of the apple in another room, You have an eating disorder. I don't like you. You're never going to get well. It's just going to have to live with it for the rest of your life. You put it over there in a room. You go to the other apple. You are going to be just fine. You are fantastic. You are beautiful. Did you know that they've done studies that after you leave them alone for 2 weeks, you come back to it, the one that you cursed
Yep.
is all dark. And the one that you blessed and you spoke life over, guess what? It doesn't look nothing like it. It looks fresh, like it's brand new. The point is that this is what's happening. So now I have another problem. I go to my docs and I go, you know what? I don't. They're all so Mr. Mark, you don't believe he has an eating disorder? I go, no, I don't. I go, but now I believe he has one. What do you mean? He didn't have one, but you guys gave him one.
Yes. Yes.
You said he has it.
You know what they call that?
No.
Okay. You've heard of the placebo effect, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what they just did is called the nocebo effect. Where they had in college, they had this section of the courses where they gave this picture of this gentleman lying on a coffee table in Africa. He was dead. And the reason why he died is because the local witch doctor cursed him. He says, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And that guy says, oh, I'm going to die. Okay. He went home and he died. Okay. So that is called the nocebo effect.
Wow.
Now, have you ever heard of Dr. Was it Mosado? He's the Oriental gentleman that would flash freeze the water crystals or the emotions. Okay. What's that apple made of? That apple that you just said they did the test on where they cursed one, it's water molecules.
Yes, it is water molecules.
Okay.
And they're living.
You said, exactly. You go look that stuff up. That stuff is
filled
real.
With water.
Yes. And that your son just took it all that negative garbage. They gave him a title. They gave him a definition. They gave him, this is how you're supposed to react. Because remember, if he's a good kid, he will listen to his elders and do exactly what they say.
And he is a good kid.
He is doing exactly what they told him.
But
because doctors are never wrong.
Dad becomes a crazy one.
Exactly.
You know.
So that's the thing. You got to watch out for that because people, and I've seen it come in, like I said before, people, their identity is their disease. And you have to break that. Okay. If my kid's identity, I mean, I grew up with allergies. My parents smoked like chain smokers in the Pinto station wagon with all the windows rolled up with all his kids. Yeah. So, I mean, all of his kids have some sort of allergy or base. I mean, that's just the way we were raised. Okay. You can choose to be that way or you can choose to change. You just got to clean your mind. You got to get yourself out. I know it's like I said, you were talking about you're outside. God bless you, because you can be outside. Up here in Montana, we got all the Canadian fires that are just bringing in the smoke like crazy. Air quality sucks. I'm just saying. So I'm very jealous that you're having a good time out there on your back porch in the sunshine.
You know what? This is the first time I ever did this. It's funny how whenever you do something for the first time, a plane goes by, a tractor goes by, all of a sudden horse and buggy. It's like the funny part is when you're not doing anything, it doesn't happen. But when you do something, it happens. I mean, I'll probably get a swarm of bees come through. And you know what I do is I just welcome them. Just bring it because, I think sometimes we become perfectionists and just realize let it flow. But speaking of let it flow, let's talk a little bit more about this machine. What does this machine do and not do?
Okay. So the machine creates a digital imprint, which helps the body do its job better. Okay. So you can point it at the allergy questions, the hormone questions. Good golly. I mean, skin problems. What it doesn't do, how do I explain this? What it doesn't do, it's not magic. It won't do the obvious, if you don't eat right, if you don't drink enough water, it doesn't fix that. It doesn't fix stupid. Okay. It doesn't fix stupid. I had a gal come in. She said, hey, I just got diagnosed with diabetes. So I went through the whole spiel. She told me about her dad, how bad he was off. I compared her to her dad, and I said, well, you got to quit drinking soda pops.
Simple.
Well, I drink 4 or 5 a day. I love them. Great. You're done. She says, I won't. So in doing so, what we have is a person who doesn't want to get things better, who basically says, hey, I can't do without it. I can't fix stupid. So what we ended up doing is I basically asked her to leave. I said, I won't work on you until you quit drinking sodas. If you can prove to me that you cannot drink the soda for a week, I'll work on you. She came back in 7 days later. She goes, oh my gosh. I said, exactly. I can't fix stupid. This doesn't fix stupid. It doesn't fix common sense. But if we can get your body to do its job better, tell me, Mark, what can your body do? This can help.
Right.
Is it magic? Is it godlike? Sometimes I tell you what, it's people find me through prayer. I had a gal traveling back up from Arizona. She was just Googling. She found my name randomly. And I've got some interns I'm working with. I'm teaching them how to do this business. And she basically, all I had to do is sit there. And she basically told them everything about what's better in her life. I mean, she went on like a 5-minute montage of how this is better, how this is better, how this is better, how this is better, how this is better. I had no idea how much better she was doing. And my intern's sitting here. This guy is learning what we're trying to do. And he's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize what this thing was doing. And I turned to him after she left. I said, well, I didn't know what this thing was doing. Because it's something that what this can't do, you know, I'm not sure what it can't do.
How long have you been playing with this? I'm all playing. It sounds like a video game. How long have you been?
It's like playing. It's like stupid fun.
I'm kind of jealous. How long have you been with this machine?
Probably 2008, 2009, I think is when we bought this silly thing.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Because there's no drugs, there's no needles. And a lot of the times, I mean, a lot of practitioners use it.
Brain fog. There we go. Brain fog.
Hey, why? Why do you have brain fog?
Okay, so let's just say, what you're going to use. I'm just going to use what people use. Hey, COVID happened. Ever since COVID, since I've healed up, I've gotten better, but I just feel like I'm just not. They're not. I don't know. I forget things, and I just feel like I got this brain fog.
So when you're looking at COVID and stuff like that, okay, what's residual left over? Did you get the vax? Are you having issues because you were vaccinated? Or like, see, me and my family, we have issues with vaccines, so we are hypersensitive to them, so we don't use them. So we didn't. We both got COVID like at least 2 times, okay? But I mean, we do our drops, so I don't really have the brain fog. People come in, they say, okay, I got this going on. So we'll get them on a nice kind of a, maybe like a detox protocol, maybe some homeopathic stuff, bring some herbal stuff in too, but then do the biofeedback scan, because back in 2019, they sent us out the digital signature of the Wuhan 2019 COVID signature. Okay. And how's it work? Well, it's laws of homeopathy, like cures like. So if I do this scan and you've got ivermectin, all this other potential stuff that can help, you know, because a lot of the stuff was parasitic like as far as how the virus was working. So yeah, let's just load this up, let your body pick what remedy it wants, and then give it back to you. Good golly, we're feeling a little bit more. We don't feel so exhausted. Oh wow, we're looking at this. You know, hormones. You got to teach them though. Eat, drink water.
I'm just going for it. Hormones. I'm a woman. I'm going to pretend I'm a woman, and I'm like, having a hormone deficiency. Well, how do you know? Well, I believe that I'm just sluggish and I'm just gaining all this weight. You know, I'm just things that I hear other women say.
Absolutely. So then you ask them, okay, how much soy do you eat? Because soy messes up the thyroid. Okay. But a lot of people think it's the thyroid. So when you look at the hormones, it's the whole endocrine system, Mark. Okay. You're talking pituitary, adrenals, all that kind of crazy stuff. But you also have to figure out, okay, why are you exhausted? Are you exhausted because you earned it? Right. Because you're a nurse and you're pulling 12-hour shifts, you know, you're going to be exhausted. So you have to supplement with nutrition. But let's say it's a mom, she just had a baby, her hormones are out of whack. Great. We run the endocrine system. Their body will pick the signatures in relationship to the different types of hormones to help balance it. If you look at women who come in and their cycles are all messed up, they're super cramping or whatever, it's like a three-legged table. Your body runs on chemicals. If we could trigger the body, the brain, whatever controls this, all the great machine that we have that God gave us, if we could help it to balance out the chemical composition that it requires to have that you can have a great cycle. God bless women. I tell you what, they're beautiful and they're wonderful and they go through an amazing amount of things. But if we can help them so that the cramping's less, the bleeding's not so horrendous on them, it makes their life happier. I mean, I've had women come in, and you can just read all the studies what COVID has done to these poor women and their cycles because of the protein and everything there. But I've had women come in, they're like, I did not even know I was on my cycle, that it started. She says, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm bleeding because it had calmed things down and it got it in. It's like a ballet show. Women's hormones are like a ballet show. If the woman launches into the air and that guy is not there to catch her, they're off and it gets painful. So it's amazing what it does. Is it the only thing that fixes them? No, sometimes we need extra stuff in. Sometimes we need iodine to provide the raw materials. I mean, but it's the first step. 80% of the people that come in and get scanned, that's all they need.
So is it this? Okay, so you give them these drugs. So this is what I hear you saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have a talk with them, see whatever diagnose.
That's all I do. They hold it. That's how we work it.
Okay, so I hold it for how long?
Well, 5 minutes.
Okay, and then sometimes my hair will pop up. I'm just joking. So
absolutely. Eyebrows get all fuzzy. Look at mine. I've been doing it for years.
You're fine. So I'm holding on to it for 5 minutes. You're hilarious, man. That was good. You're holding on. You're holding on to it for 5 minutes. Oh, anyways, my brain's going other places. Your go is good. So I'm holding on to it for about 5 minutes. Yeah. What happens is it start blinking and do an SOS.
Yep, it runs through each. You've got 4 or 5 main tests that we run, and then there's subcategories. Like I say, if I were to click the food test, you get inside the food test, you have beverages, you have meats, you have grains, you have fruits, vegetables, whatever. And inside each one of those groups, your apples, bananas, oranges. I mean, it runs the identity through each one. And then the program picks out which signature is the problem signature, potentially, because I can't diagnose, treat, or cure anybody. But if I can give a frequency back to the body to help the body do its job better, there you go. I mean, my nephew was allergic to water.
I know somebody that's allergic to water. You can help them?
Yeah. Anytime he was in water longer than 15 minutes, he'd break out a rash on his torso.
Yes.
Yeah. So my sister kept sending me these pictures from my nephew. And I'm like, what did he get into? It was anywhere from he was just in the hot tub for the neighbor, swimming in the irrigation ditch, or we just had the lawn, sprayed by True Lawn, then they did the slip and slide, maybe got into that, So I finally got him in the office and I did the environmental scan. And the number one thing that came up was H2O. Like, what the? But that don't make any sense. So I started doing questions to my sister. I said, give me some more feedback here. Because you're kind of like a detective, figuring out what is the root cause. Well, she started saying, well, actually, he quit taking baths because he would break out in a rash in the bathtub. So we had to switch to showers. So then we figured out anytime he was longer in the water, or anytime he was in the water longer than 15 minutes, he'd break out in the rash.
Wow.
We're like, wait a second, Mark. Okay, we're going to figure out whether you are the real man at your house. Have you done dishes in the sink before?
Of course.
Okay, what happens to your hands when you're in there longer than 15 minutes? You get wrinkly, and they start absorbing water because you're absorbing it through your tissue.
Correct.
Okay, 3 weeks later, he's swimming, no problems.
Wait, okay. He's swimming,
Yes.
and it's because of the drops.
Because of the drops. Yes. We scanned him, created a digital remedy. He took them consistently for 3 weeks or so, jumped back in the pool, and he was good for hours. That's all it took.
Does he have to continue to use these drops over and over and over and over and over and over?
Oh, no, I haven't seen him for years. Of course, him and his mom are, I mean, you can't fix crazy. I mean, even through her own family. You mean, just saying, I hope she doesn't watch this, but maybe she does. But who cares? You know?
That's awesome. So these people aren't hooked on these drops forever?
Oh, hell no. I want to get fired. My job is to be fired. And my definition of being fired is I am no longer useful because I've got nothing else to do.
You know, I've never met anybody like you or even say that. And that takes my brain. It just, I don't, and I'm going to say this. A lot of doctors don't have the balls to say that. I had to say it was killing me. Like that's really like, that shows for me the heart of it, of why you're doing what you're doing. And I want people to know more about you. And I don't know, you hit
a ton of us out here, there are, but we're not flamboyant people. I mean, wow. I wish I could do it all for free. Seriously. But I have found I'm probably 100% successful in failure when I do it for free for someone because they have no value to it.
That's 100% true.
And I mean, I mean, I am the last stop on the train. I mean, once you go through all the stops and all the medical people and all the surgeons and all that crap, I am the last one because, well, I heard about this guy, and I started from scratch. I mean, there was no one in Billings, Montana, or pretty much the state that was doing what I wanted to do in my clinic. So for 2 years, I lived off savings. I didn't make a freaking dime, Mark. Didn't make a dime. But I knew because, sometimes you're inspired by God to do something. So we just hung out and we did it. And then all of a sudden, this guy got better. And then this guy got better. And you're like,
it went viral.
Holy crap, this really works.
Wow. This.
But you have the intellectuals that will say, I want you to give me a spreadsheet on how this works. There ain't
and
one.
Why? Why
do flowers follow the sun? What is programmed into a flower to make it follow the sun so it gets the ultimate?
When you sleep, why do you automatically wake up when you're in coma when they've done studies? So I don't know. We just rise.
So I mean, I think the best part of this with anybody that's going to see something like this for all the practitioners, and there's a bunch of machines, not just my machine, but there's a ton of machines out there are like this kind of thing. Great for them. If people would just don't give up hope, because you are going to find a way to get out of whatever. Don't be like your son. You have this diagnosis and that is all you're good for. Nothing else. This is what you're going to be for the rest of your life. You're done. Bull crap. Okay. If people have a hope that there is potentially something out there to help, and they just need to keep looking and keep trying.
So what I hear you saying, I'm going off script here. So my son now, he's, they've been trying to get him to gain weight.
Right.
We've had him on these things called Simon shakes. They're horrible for you. A lot of sugar and crap.
Inflammatory.
So
stop it.
Now, I'm with you. You don't even, anyways, you don't even know. But he's got this acid reflux now where he's having to burp a lot, of course, because of the crap he's drinking. Right. And then he's going to eat a certain meal. And if he's not, and now he's like almost kind of scared of food. And he's gained, I will say he's gained in 3 months, he's gained probably like 12 pounds. And they're saying that he needs to, because they're trying to get him to, he's short. And they're trying to get him not to lose his growth spurt. And, I'm thinking HGH. I'm thinking for as a father, I'm not a doctor, just thinking of different, ideas. And so now he's kind of going backwards a little bit. So now he's hit like a thresh floor where he's able to gain weight and looks pretty good. But now they don't have him doing anything. He can't do anything. All he can do is play video games all day. So, and like they don't want him going out and having fun and being like a kid. And so it's like really irritating as a father. And I'm like, I feel like my hands are tied
Right.
and I don't know what to do. Um, if I can get him to eat again, like where he just enjoys to eat and not having to be so freaking picky about everything.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm almost like hesitant to go to Montana, and I've never been there. I'm not even joking. I'm like, man, I get him for a weekend. I'll be out there. I'm not even joking. Like, I mean, I'm even willing to try whatever. Just like you with your kids. You're like, I don't care. I'll try anything.
Right. Because the love of your children will outweigh any textbook, doctorate, health design, health study, whatever. You will do whatever if there is a hope that your child can eat normally. Okay. But you got to remember too, this is your box. Well, whatever. Okay. This is your box. Not everybody fits in the box. If he's not to the right size or weight, well, maybe he's not that size or weight. Okay?
But it runs in my family. My point is we've got, I love midgets, by the way. We got midgets, little people, we got tall people, I'm not the channel to be to be hardcore sensitive. I just say it like it is. And we all have our strengths and weaknesses, but we have little people and God loves everybody. And I believe that that's the way we are.
So if you look at the root cause and you already know what it is, it's something wrong with his gut.
Yes. I've been saying, yes.
But they're creating a chronic problem because they're adding on these ideas of diagnosis. And this is what you're supposed to be because this is the disease that you have. Bull crap. Get away from that. Come visit us in Montana. And we'll do another show and we'll do a scan. We'll do it. And then you can document it.
Oh yeah. I will document. No, we'll be of course talking again because the next show is going to be with my beautiful wife, Corey. And of course we'll connect on there, but I just want to say thank you so much. I'm intrigued about this machine. I hope you're getting video testimonials. If not, please start getting video testimonials because people need to hear about this.
Okay. I'll do what I can. Like I say, I'm good at some things. This technical stuff, it's kind of, but I've got some good people I got coming on.
Just use the juice that God's given you. You're doing fantastic. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Paul. Do us a favor.
Honored to help.
Where you can be found if people are hearing this on Spotify, where you can be found, your website and everything.
Sometimes it's just Big Sky Natural Wellness Clinic.com. BigSkyClinic.com. That just search out.
What part of Montana?
Billings, Montana.
Billings. Yeah. That sounds like, is there a lot of horses?
Oh my gosh. Horses, cows. I tell you what, you come to town, I will personally barbecue you one of the finest steaks that you've ever had.
I'm going to hold you to that, man. I'm going to hold you.
I got a guy, man.
I love it. I got a guy. You are awesome. Thank you so much for being here on the show. I look forward to having you on again real soon, like probably within a week. Anyway.
Got your back, bro.
All right. Thanks.